how do you, because you, when did you start stand-up comedy? When did that part of your career begin?
Well, the first time I ever did stand-up, I was 16 at my high school prom. So that was it. But when I started doing it really professionally, like making money at it, was probably like 5 years ago.
5 years ago, and that's when you started doing it daily. Like before 5 years ago, you weren't doing it at all.
Yeah.
Besides 16 when you did it on a dare, because your teacher was, you were having an affair with your teacher.
When I could quit working at like Soul Cycle and my restaurant jobs was probably like maybe 6 years ago.
Okay, so you came up in, then the reason why I'm asking is because you came up in the era of stand-up when social media was already exploded.
Yes.
So the reason why I'm bringing it up, because I started stand-up in like 2009, 2010. Social media was just beginning.
Yeah.
So I kind of like was already starting to get, some comedy out there, whatever, and not having to deal with immediate reactions from strangers. So I've kind of grew, my brain kind of calcified where it's like, I don't really care what people say about me at all, because I'm like, I put my product out there so much when nobody cared.
Right.
But stand-ups who come up in this, it's like, you almost feel like, I wonder if you feel like so much closer to your fans because of TikTok and Instagram, like this is what gave birth to your career. Do you feel like if someone says something negative about you, does it really bother you?
Well, like today, I've been losing my mind because we're announcing the Netflix special and all this shit.
Hell yeah,
and
bitch.
Yeah, hell yeah, bitch.
Yeah, and we still do support the strike.
Oh yeah, we support the strike. Of course, absolutely.
I support it, but go see my girl on Netflix.
But I've just been so stressed out. And Jeff literally looked at me. The reason I got into comedy because I adored Joan Rivers. Like Joan Rivers was everything to me. And he literally was like, "What the fuck would Joan do? She would not give a fuck.
Yep.
She would say, suck my dick,
get
me a fur coat,
exactly.
You know what I mean, and drive me to my townhouse where I hold all my diamonds in a safe. She would not care."
That's exactly what Jeff said to the guy right before he met you at the gay bar.
Yeah.
Suck my dick,
hold
my coat,
and drive you to my townhouse.
Drive me to my townhouse.
But I had an interesting thing because I was out in LA doing like UCB and I had like a one-woman show because I always did like characters and stand-up. And then basically, horrific thing in my life happened. My dad died all of a sudden. I moved back to Atlanta to like help my family figure out what the next step was. And the joke is kind of, it's just like I was living cathartically through Instagram stories. I'd always done characters and shit and put that on Instagram. It was back in 2015. And then my Instagram stories like took off because I used the stories kind of like stand up. I would just do bits all day.
Sure.
And then it just went wild. But I tapped into a really interesting audience because a lot of the people who come to my shows, they will be big stand up fans, but then sometimes it's like women, especially like the ladies, it's their first time like going to see a stand up comedian. And so I have this whole new genre. I have this whole new audience, and women spend money and women are dedicated and they come out and then they bring their husbands and their boyfriends and then the guys have a fucking great time. And then it's just grown into this like crazy thing. Yeah,
because I feel like, it's all about like what medium you're putting your stuff out for. So like you say you would start to put actually the things you were passionate about in your stand-up bits out on social media. And then like, it was almost like those were like your open mics. Like those were like your, let me try these jokes out here. And I think that, now like what's happening is I would assume anybody who comes to see you is just, they're your fans. Like it is all about Heather, which is like what we all want and what is like such a beautiful thing to like only perform for the people because sometimes in stand-up comics would be like, Chris, you're fine. You could do well in front of your fans, but what if you just dropped in on a random night at the Comedy Cellar and nobody knows who you are? I'm like, I do that, but also like, what's the point of that? You want to perform for as many people that fucking know. You want to sell tickets.
You know who I don't want there? My family. Okay?
Exactly.
Anybody else would be nice to me other than my family, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is also too, I'm just gonna be real with you.
Please
I have
be
such
real.
an intimidation thing about it too, because now that like I'm on this new platform, I know that there are other people in comedy who are gonna come out and be like, well, she didn't come up in the clubs. We don't know her from the fucking store and all this shit. I don't give a fuck. And I'll tell you why. Because I sell numbers, I sell out, and my show's great. And I'm a really good, fun performer. I know that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. That's fine. Fucking comedy is pick and choose what you giggle at. I don't give a shit.
It's a subjective art form.
Subjective.
It's like you got to understand something. What's going on in stand-up comedy? It's like music, right? Like say growing up, I listened to Dave Attell and Colin Quinn and these guys, and that's who I loved, right? And so those are my guys. But now the people who are younger than me, they didn't listen to Attell and Colin Quinn. They heard the way that they heard about a comedian was through TikTok or social media. So they're like, those are you're somebody's Attell and Colin Quinn, just like my dad would hit. It was all about Henny Youngman, who that was nothing. It didn't mean anything to me. So it's like shit just evolves, and then it's really only time you'll ever hear comedians or other fellow artists, whatever, hate are the ones that they don't like where they're at in their career. Because if somebody's comfortable when they're at in their career, I'm like, we all have plenty to eat. Let whomever do it the way that they want to do it. That's about them and their fans. Because the thing is too, is like, other people might say stuff about all of us. Other people might talk shit about everyone from Louis C.K. down to me. Like they'll talk crap about anybody. It's really like it's a subjective art form. So it's like, if the fans are having a great time at your show and the fans love what you do, that's what it's about. It's not about, making somebody else who's your competition, who's probably subtly jealous of you, about appealing to them. Like I realized, like one thing Bill Cosby said that was good.
That was positive.
One positive Bill Cosby thing is he said, I don't know the key to success, but I know the key to failure is trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
So I think about that a lot as I'm putting people to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.